Alright, you guys, I wanted to welcome you back for a third year of exciting adventures, so I put together a song I think really speaks to the whole situation.
Hooray, music!
Brad, get ready to play one of the coolest song combinations you will ever hear in the history of modern music. Hey, Glee Club. How's it going? Is it going good? Did y'all have a good summer? Relaxed? Spent more time with your families? That's nice. But you know what else would have been nice? If we had gotten to do those things too. But you see, somebody, let's go ahead and say a group of lovably rambunctious high schoolers who express themselves in song, left us in New York City! I mean, why would you even do that? You sent us right back to the hotel after the performance, you never told us what happened, and the next morning, you're gone. With our plane tickets. Wait a second. You guys were on the New York City trip with us? What? Yes, we were in New York City. I know we weren't as visible as you guys, but for goodness sakes, we were there. And it's only because you made us come. We had Jazz Band Nationals the same day. In Seattle. Now, I'm not going to ask you how you changed our flights without us knowing. I'm not going to ask why we weren't allowed in your hotel rooms even once during the entire trip. I'm not even going to ask why you seem to think it's so easy for a high school jazz band to learn songs you wait until the last minute to write while you are gallivanting around New York City like we can just magically be ready by the time you get on stage. I mean, we didn't even get to hang out with you guys. We're high school students, too. We have interests and things going on in our lives, and we were there with you. Would it have hurt so much to spend a little time with us? But no, don't worry. I'm not going to ask about that. I've pretty much come to expect that sort of thing from you guys. So, it's really not that big a deal. No, I only have one question, and it's a fair question, I think. One worth asking, worth answering, worth taking some time to contemplate and think over, and just why did you leave us in New York City? I mean, I'm not even going to tell you what we had to do to get back here. We'd actually gotten some new members this year, and we lost them on the way back. We don't know where they are. Tommy actually has an interesting theory on that. Tommy, what's your theory again? Oh, yes, I think they died. He thinks they died. Thank you, Tommy. I just want to make it clear, this entire trip was poorly planned right from the start. Mr. Schuster, I'm not the first person to point this out, but when you were doing the calculations for how much fundraising the club would have to do to go to the city, you wrote 5,000 times 0.25 equals 20,000 in big numbers on the whiteboard. And I'm pretty sure that's wrong. Not just a little wrong, like really wrong. And I mean, nobody in the club even questioned it. I'm afraid to think of what that means for the school's math department. And even when you decided to do that Neglected Artists concert, I'm not so sure all of you know what neglected means. I mean, I appreciated the Jack Johnson and Licky Lee songs, but your other two choices for neglected artists were Aretha Franklin and Adele. I mean, don't get me wrong, they're amazing artists, but Adele has had 2 #1 singles in the last year, and Aretha Franklin is considered the undisputed queen of soul. The queen. She deserves it, certainly, but I mean, come on. It'd be like if Yahtzee Croshaw put together a top 10 list of the most neglected games of the last 30 years and saved the #1 spot for a 3-way tie between Mario World of Warcraft and The Sims. Who's Yahtzee Croshaw? That's not important. But I digress. Somehow doing Aretha Franklin inadvertently led to you getting the funding you needed anyway, so, you know, Deus Ex whatever, all's well that ends well. I mean, I was kind of confused why, if you were so concerned about getting an audience, you couldn't have just asked the surprise gigantic choir that showed up behind Mercedes in the final number to maybe be in the audience. I mean, what was up with that? Were you hiding them somewhere? Did they just pull a Harry Potter and apparate on stage? I mean, why didn't we ever run into them backstage? No high school in America has a backstage big enough for that many people and not run into them once. But again, whatever. No big deal. Oh, by the way, thanks for actually showing up to Spanish class for once last year, Mr. Schuster. I mean, all you did was tell us that regresar means to come back, after you stared off into space for a few seconds and left. I really didn't know what was up with that for a while. But then I found out it was because you were inspired for Glee Club to make a comeback. And I was like, oh yeah! Priorities. You know, I looked it up, and the kind of comeback you were referring to, as in making a comeback, actually translates better to reapreciación in Spanish. You know where I learned that? Google Translate. Google Translate is a better Spanish teacher than you! I mean, it's like nobody at the school can do their actual jobs right. The cheerleading coach has blackmailed the principal and punched a woman in the face, on stage, in front of a crowd of people, many students. The principal blithely announced a kid who he knew was being bullied by homophobic jerks as prom queen in front of the entire school, like he couldn't have just, oh, I don't know, not read what was on the card, announced the runner-up as prom queen, instead anything that a competent person would have done in that situation. I mean, Tommy has a theory on what could improve things around here. Tommy, what was your theory again? Right, yes, I think you should all be fired. He thinks you should all be fired. Thank you, Tommy. It's cool. This school has to be one of the most insane, illogical, preposterous, mind-bogglingly unrealistic places I have ever... If it bothers you so much, why do you even come back? I mean, didn't you guys say you were leaving last time you did one of these rants? Why'd you come back if you hate it so much? We have nowhere else to go. Watch Season 3 of Glee Tuesdays at 8, 7 Central on Fox. Also, if you could watch Season 3 of Community Thursdays, 8, 7 Central on NBC, that would be awesome. It's a great show, and I could really use the love, you guys. Anyway, we're about to do a mashup with the theme songs to welcome back Cotter and Three's Company. Just tell us when to come in.